Natalie Barton, welcome to my happy place.
Thank you for having me,
here.
Toby. Very happy to be here.
You know me quite well, Nat. What would you imagine my happy place to look like?
Filled with books. I would imagine you in like Belle's library in Beauty and the Beast with like one of those slidey ladders that goes around.
Do you know my favourite Christmas gift from my wife this last Christmas was a library scanner.
Yeah.
She gave me a the little boop boop, and it plugs into my laptop on a USB, and I can catalogue all my books. Right there is my greatest source of joy right now. Never mind the kids, never mind the family. My library scanner is my greatest source of joy right now.
Inner geek. Never goes away.
Absolutely. So that I think we've clearly demonstrated already how well you know me. Would you describe yourself as a happy person?
I would describe myself as a realist. It used to be that I would have described myself as a pessimist, because the advantage of being a pessimist is that you are either right, and I really like being right, or you're pleasantly surprised. So I would always take that slightly negative, this isn't going to work, edge. But I've changed slightly, and I've become a bit perkier. Weirdly, as you get older, most people get more miserable, but I've got a bit perkier and optimistic. I think it's because I'm not dead yet.
I don't know. Do you think there's now I'm not going to be able to recall the exact data off the top of my head, but there is that research that shows that the happiest points of your life are very early on and very late on. Mm-hmm. And then the middle is a big trough of despondency. Well, not quite, but so I think that later life can actually make you happier. And I watch I know this isn't real life, but one of my favorite shows is Curb Your Enthusiasm, and my whole sort of my ambition in life is to be like Larry David when I'm older and just not give a damn, really.
Just let life roll and just stir the pot a bit, and that's. Yeah, I think
you spoke about pessimism and optimism, and so that opens immediately quite an interesting question in my mind, which is because we're talking about joy and happiness and the correlation between pessimism and optimism and happiness. Is it possible to be a happy pessimist?
I think you can be. I think because I think if you chase happiness and you think that life should be permanently happy and joyous and joyful, you're only going to be disappointed. And even if it is completely joyful and joy, then you're like on the world's worst roller coaster, because it's just flat, and that's really boring. Whereas I think what's really important in life to really appreciate happiness is to be comfortable with all emotions and to be able to sit and know and recognize that I'm really sad at the minute, I'm disappointed at the minute, I'm frustrated, I've got anxiety, and to be able to own it and go, but it's okay to feel these things and to recognize what's triggered them, where they come from, and then to think that actually it's only temporary. Everything in life is a temporary part of the process, even the good things, which means that when you do feel that happiness, when you are in that moment of joy, regardless of where it is, you recognize that this is only for a brief moment and I need to treasure it and value it. But at the same time, when I'm at my lowest point, I know that it's only a temporary state of whatever's going on, and things will get better.
There's a lot that I want to unpack there. I think you've given us an absolute goldmine to work through over the rest of the podcast, just from that opening statement. Before I do that, I want to do a quick fire, because if anyone doesn't know Natalie, and shame on you, shame on you. If then I want to give them a quick flavour of what the things that do bring you joy in life. So very quick fire. What's your happy song?
I don't have a happy song. I have happy. When it comes to music, I mean, I'm big on musicals. I love being in the West End, being in the theatre, being in the auditorium, and all the emotions stirring you, and it's a combined joint. There was a moment we went to see, that's quick fire, I'm going to ramble now. We went to see Hadestown, and there's a moment in it, and it's set design. The set goes and widens up at this strategic moment, and you hear the audience go, and that shared breath. I love that. That's what I love most about music. So it's not a happy song, it's this shared experience. Yeah. And the other thing with music that I love the most is that at Property Mark, we have a Friday playlist. I host the Friday playlist, and we have a theme, and everyone submits their songs, and then we have to work out who picked which one, and we get to know each other a little bit better through our musical song choices, and that brings me joy every single week. I love it.
Making music playlists is one of those things. It's a bit like some people do colouring because it just detaches your brain from whatever's going on around you at the moment. Music playlists. So one of my greatest joys in life is probably too much information. Lying in the bath and making a playlist. I have a routine that on the eve of my birthday every year, I make a playlist that's supposed to reflect my state of life at that moment in time. And I've noticed in recent years, all of the songs are kind of referring to, leaves turning brown and the passing of time.
Well, I turned 50, so I made myself an old as fuck playlist for my birthday.
What's the best song to dance to?
Oh,
I'll buy you some thinking time here for the benefit of the listener. Of your Nat is a famous dancer, having danced live at the Agents Giving Strictly Come Dancing ball, and took home a trophy.
We all got a trophy just for taking part. To be honest, Tobes.
What's the best song to dance to?
It's just going to be about, one of my favourites at the moment. Oh my God, I'm going to have to look at it because like I say, I'm 50. I've got that menopausal brain of as soon as you ask for a name of something, I'm like, no, I don't know names. Because one of the things I love is Zumba. That brings me joy because that's essentially exercise dancing with abs.
Yeah, and actually that brings together two of the things that are supposed to chemically bring you joy in life.
Exactly.
Exercise, which I still don't quite get it, in that, yes, I understand that being healthier and fitter is going to ultimately make you happier. However, the simple act of exercise brings me great misery. But I understand that is more of a long-term gain.
You need to find the exercise that sparks joy in you. I think that's the thing. That's the key. Although, look at me, I find joy in food as well, and that's the trouble. Because
in a similar vein to exercise, dancing is supposed to be one of those things that again is movement, activity, getting your pulse racing. Did that bring you joy doing that performance at the Agents Giving Ball? Because I know it was a grueling thing for you to do, but did it bring you joy?
It was pure terror. I mean, when you watch Strictly Come Dancing, you see the behind the scenes, and I'm not talking about the really negative stuff, but the toughness of the frustration when you can't get a step and you're doing it over and over and over, you can't get it right. That's like, you could have practices which were the worst. They were just, I came out like frustrated and annoyed with myself, but something will click in you. And there was a move, and oh my God, I loved it. And it was like this turn, and you're in the arms of somebody who knows what they're doing, and you turned and then whoosh and back. And it was just, I remember the first time it clicked, and I was on a high, just coming up like that.
I think it's probably similar to what they call the runner's high, isn't it? That kind of sudden release of endorphins, and you're like surfing a wave of happiness.
Just absolutely amazing. And then obviously the performance itself was terrifying. But there was a point, Abby went on, she was a couple of performers before me, and she was so good. She was phenomenal. She had all the sass and all the moves, and it's just, it all came together. She did her back. She did this like somersault thing in heels and landed it, nailed it. And at that point I was like, well, I'm not going to win this. And all the pressure just went. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to go out and enjoy it. And I really, really did.
Do you recall the moment when so almost the second that you finished and the room erupted? That must have just been a spontaneous explosion of I guess relief, but happiness as well.
Yeah. It was amazing. I mean, one of the things, like, I've made a list. I made a list of happy things that make me happy.
And I want to come on to this for sure.
Come on to this, but one of the things on it was performing. And once I went to see Pasha Kovalov from. I am a Strictly stalker. I'm obsessed, and I went to see him. And there was this opportunity to go on the stage and do a bit of dancing. And I was like, Darren, pick me, pick me. Oh, by the way, look at us match.
No.
Who wore it best?
If you are listening to this, Natalie and I have both spontaneously worn blue and white horizontal stripes, as though we are both working in a Pizza Express.
Yes. Anyway, so I was like, pick me, pick me. But we had to go up in pairs. And I don't take my husband anywhere, but I had gone with some friends, including a really dear friend, Adrian, he was old enough to be my dad, and his wife was there. So I had to get her permission. And so we were like in the audience going, can I borrow your husband? So we went up together and they're like, what is going on? This girl's just plucked this man out of the audience. Anyway, it was to do a passo. So it was really dramatic. Adrian went full on it with the cake. Swish, 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 swish. And I had a skirt that had a swish, and it'll be very dramatic. And and they were like, we got the applause we got. And then there were three sort of couples on the stage, and they had to vote for who had done it best. Well, this roar came out of the audience when it was our turn. It like hit us just because we'd done a really bloody good job, but we'd also taken it like it was just with so much fun for what it was, and played the audience, and
That's
it
amazing.
was just this bow, and I'll never forget that. That was hilariously and brilliant, and we got a book, I think, and
I would at this point just like to thank the man outside my window who started a strimmer, just in case you can hear that at home. So there'll be some people listening to that, like me, probably mainly men, who could not think of anything more terrifying than not just dancing in the first place, but being called up on to a stage in front of a room full of people to dance in public. Do you think it's possible for somebody like me, who simply does not know where to put his feet on a dance floor, to still derive joy from dancing? I think that now we're kind of getting into the territory of, do you get joy from throwing yourself into uncomfortable situations?
I mean, look at Ben Madden. He was terrified when he did Agents Do Strictly. He was like, no. And then the year later, he came back dressed as a Spice Girl.
A sight that none of us will ever forget.
Oh no, and especially as I got the back view as being one of the judges, and there are things that my retinas are burned.
So at this stage of the podcast, I like people to try and define for me what happiness means to them. But as you've alluded to already, you can go beyond that, because you have dug out a list that you wrote of, am I right, around 100 things?
So it was 2017, and there was like this hashtag 100 days happy. And again, like I say, I was like in that pessimist era, and I was like, nobody's going to believe this is authentic, but I'm sure there's 100 things that make me happy. So I ended up with a list of 102.
Wow.
I know.
Okay, so this was born out of a social media trend.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and did you find it difficult or not to come up with 102 things that bring you happiness?
Well, that's why I ended up with 102, because you can't stop. Why quantify happiness with just like, yes, 100, I'm done now. It was like, I can't throw kittens out. You know what I mean? You can't.
And did the process of making that list, did you learn anything from that?
Yeah,
and
actually, when you invite me on this,
give us some. I mean, I don't know if we have time for all 102. Give us a flavour of what you've got on there. So this is 102 things from 2017 that makes Natalie.
Well, this isn't 2017's list. When you invited me on this podcast, I thought, oh, this is an ample time to kind of revisit this and create my 2025 version. So I've got things like sun on the back of my neck, opportunities. Time spent with friends, helping people, watching my children become awesome people. Comedy, especially at the minute, Sarah Keyworth, I love her. Doing a good job, meeting people in real life, dancing, swimming, Disneyland Paris, sunsets, shooting stars, having enough money, marshmallow-soft duvets and freshly washed sheets, breakfast in bed, Christmas, good food, knowing that somebody cares, other people's success, being able to find clothes that fit, and being happy in my body. The fountains behind King's Cross Station, London, as we've mentioned before, musicals and going to the theatre, raw cake batter and a plastic spatula. I like being stroked. I like massages. They make me happy.
That is not an open invitation.
No,
to
not
stroke
anywhere.
Natalie
It has
when
to
you
be.
see her.
Yes. Having time to myself. Baby snuggles, Zumba, snow, swishy skirts, especially when they've got pockets. Hot chocolate, sit through whipped cream. Adulting, but only when it goes right. The drunken face of a sated baby. Toddler giggles. Rainbows, the smell of oranges. A great playlist on a long car journey. Sleep. Comfortable shoes. It used to be back in 2017. It was beautiful shoes, but now it's comfortable shoes. One-on-one time with my kids. Interesting conversations that inspire. Industry events. There's a Ford near us, and that on a sunny afternoon is just perfection. Picnics, fish and chips by the sea, bubbles, blue skies, feeling secure, being seen, memories. Dragon boat racing, because we did that recently and that's amazing. Balmy nights, swishy haircuts, a fresh manicure, being organised, yoga, playing board games, working Wi-Fi, especially if it extends to the garden, immersive experiences, peace and quiet, options without expectations, spa days, the rooftop pool at Bath Surma Spa especially, plans when they come together. Yeah. A really good kiss. Again, that's not from open invitation. Handwritten letters, parcel deliveries, because it feels like I haven't had to pay for them. Peeling the plastic off new technology, making a positive difference, a successful bake, hitting my goals even if they're arbitrary, having my feet in water, cat's purrs, spontaneity, stumbling across a really great read, words, especially when they feel awesome in your mouth, stepping off a plane into warmth, performing, there we go, that's on my list, a good job well done, breathtaking views, loving and being loved for who I am, work events, I think I might have listed that twice, offering an unexpected gift to make somebody else happy, great pleasure. I don't know what quite I meant by great pleasure. My job, that makes me happy. When the algorithm serves wholesomeness, and moderate roller coasters, but nothing too extreme. Which I think is not quite 100, but yeah, that's where I got in.
I mean, I loved that, and so it basically turned into a form of beat poetry at some point. And I think everybody, I would encourage everyone at home to go through a similar process and write and read your 100 things that make you happy. And actually, it put me in mind when you were reading that of there's a poet called Harry Baker who actually did write a poem along very similar lines.
I think you shared it.
Yeah. I scribbled a few things down which I'd like to unpack. So thank you for sharing that. I think that is absolutely wonderful, and I think that everybody should have somewhere a list of things, whether it's in your head, on your phone, on a piece of paper, of things. It's so important to know what brings you joy, so that you can then proactively seek out those things. Now you said words. You said, and I know you are a wordsmith. And actually, I'm in my quick fire thing, which I actually skipped over it because quick fire turned to waffle on this podcast. What is your happy word? What is a word that brings you joy, satisfaction, that you just like rolling off the tongue?
I love words that roll off the tongue and that sound beautiful and feel beautiful. This is a weird thing. I don't know if it's
words can be beautiful, absolutely.
That feel good in your mouth. So one of my favorite words, I guess, would be onomatopoeia.
Yes.
And it means
isn't it so satisfying that the word onomatopoeia is satisfying to hear because of its meaning as well?
Yeah, exactly. But it feels beautiful to say, and it rolls. It's horrible to spell, though. Don't ask me to spell it.
Now you said having enough money. Why didn't you say? Why don't you want all the money?
Because with money comes responsibility, doesn't it, and stress. It's either you have to work, so you have to give so much of yourself to work to get that money, or it comes from something that's not that pleasant. Like if you dug into big money companies, it's a tainted story, isn't it? And I also think once you've got past it, money issues can obviously prevent your happiness. When you've got that stress of how do I get through my day without somebody knocking at my door, or how do I put the food on the table or pay the electricity? If you've got those stresses playing on your head, that's going to put a shroud over how you feel about everything. And I know I said you have to sit with those feelings, and you know, you can find happiness, you can still find happiness, but it does, it does shroud it. But if you've got enough, that gives you a freedom and a sense, and it gives you opportunities. But you don't need an abundance to feel happy and secure.
Right. The next thing that I wrote down that I wanted to pick you up on was breakfast in bed. I'm sorry, I have to disagree with you. I just don't like the crumbs on the sheets. Oh, that feeling when you get in that evening and there's crumbs on the sheet. Oh no!
Well, kind of maybe this comes with the proviso. It's usually in a sort of 5-star hotel or something. So if somebody else has to clear up the crumbs, and you've got the best. Yeah, the sort of bed picnic there's something really chilled and relaxed and like.
Oh, so we're talking. We're not really talking bread, toast and butter. We're talking prosecco and strawberries.
We're talking somebody has delivered it to your room. You've not had to get out of bed to make it. The coffee is like filtered and in a cafetiere, and there's like croissants and
yeah. What did you mean by being seen? You said being seen.
Yeah. I mean, we all have roles in life, don't we? And I think that I was a stay-at-home mum for a lot of time, and you put yourself down the pecking order when you do that. And I think in an industry where we pay a lot of attention, and this is for every industry and every career and space, we pay attention a lot to the people who are at the top of this ladder. We love listening to their journeys, but it's because they've reached this place at the top. But I think that everybody's got a story, and everybody's got a point, and everybody's got insight to give, regardless of where they are on their journey or on the ladder or whatever point they reach or even aspire to reach. Because I never want to own my own company. I never want to be a CEO, a senior leader, because I'm so happy being able to have a job where I do stuff, not manage stuff. And I'm reading Marissa Raw's Lean Out at the minute, and she makes that really valid point. She did not want to do the corporate ladder thing because it takes you away from actually where your skill set is. But you get less opportunity to have your say, even if you're more representative of more people. And it's rare. And when you get an opportunity like this to go on a podcast and speak and talk, and then that does make me happy. I was genuinely happy when you invited me on.
The purpose of the podcast is to bring joy. So maybe if I just invite everyone on the podcast,
just invite everyone
joy.
I'm going forever. How long would you have to stay alive to invite like 6 billion people onto your podcast?
Unpack this one for me. This was another one I wrote down that I found interesting. Options without expectations. What does that mean?
It's because when you've got somebody said, do this, but deliver it to this standard, and there's suddenly a pressure, then what the thing that you love is it's got provisos on it, and it takes the joy out of it. You suddenly got to deliver. I've never been one for KPIs. Or Rachel Hartley. And my job's quite fluffy. I will say my job is quite fluffy and hard to quantify. The experience of communities, trying to track things down to give a board report. I'm like, that's not how I work. So, but I like being given an opportunity for creativity. Creativity doesn't necessarily flourish under a kind of marker.
I think creativity is a great point. It's something that is often suffocated by the demands of quote unquote proper jobs, serious jobs.
Exactly. And I have a serious job in the whole property market, I think.
Yeah, the need to be driven by data, and it's important not to suffocate creativity, whether that's in your work or something you seek outside of your work. I love this one, peeling plastic off new tech.
That's the best.
Yeah, but it also puts me in mind of the unboxing when you get a new mobile phone, and you know that someone in an office somewhere has researched and calculated the optimum amount of time that it takes. You know that the when you take the lid off a new iPhone or phone, and there's that pause before the box drops.
Apple are masters at it, aren't they?
Yes. But what that shows that I do actually love is that there is science in happiness. There is almost a formula.
Yeah.
Someone has gone, if A plus B equals happy, and if we can all just understand the formula, then that would be great. And finally, out of that list, I wanted to pick you up on, and you've alluded to it throughout. You said my job. And one of the things I really wanted to do with this podcast was to look at the correlation between work and happiness. And so you're in a job that you love, which is great. And would it be fair to say that you have also had experience of less fulfilling work environments? And, and so I'm interested in what makes the difference between a job that gives you happiness and one that doesn't.
I think, I mean, there's many layers to it. One, I think being in an environment that recognizes your skill set and your interests and the things that, you know, doing the jobs that you really passionately care about and you're good at and you can thrive doing, that's obviously a really good start, because if you feel you can do a good job, you're going to enjoy it more and you're going to invest more, rather than if you're stuck doing something that you hate and it's repetitive and boring and you're stuck there every single day and you hate it and you despise it. There's, you know, the money that comes at the end of the month is not enough, regardless of what it is, to make that experience a positive one.
So it's almost like there has to be a correlation between what you put in and what you take out, and if one outweighs the other, then it's going to lead to an imbalance.
And I think also the team that you're working with plays a huge role as well. So your work environment and the people that you surround yourself with, every job will have challenges, but it's whether they come from the outside and you fight them as a united front, or whether they come from a toxic culture inside, then that can make a phenomenal difference to your kind of happiness within your role. I mean, I worked in agency before going to Property Mark, and in lettings, the challenges just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, don't they? Like, how do you deal with people when there aren't enough houses to go around? And saying no to people who are desperate was horrific. If you have support,
absolutely,
and you know that you're not the only person dealing with this, and there are people who are trying to make a difference to change that situation, it makes it easier than if you're fighting it alone, or if people are just going, well, actually you didn't do that very well, and it's just all negativity landing in your inbox and on your doorstep.
So also on the subject of your job, there's one other topic that I really want to discuss with you, which is that you are responsible for digital communities at Property Mark. What a wonderful role, which basically, and not that I want to oversimplify the important work that you do, means that you spend a lot of time on the internet.
I will literally, if anybody says, what do you do? I'm like, oh yeah, I'm digital communities officer, which means I hang out on LinkedIn and Facebook. What an amazing job.
and of course, there's an awful lot of talk around the amount of time people spend on social media. And so I like to bring a fact to each episode of the podcast. And this is from the Mental Health Research and Treatment Center at Ruhr University in Bochum, Germany, which sounds like they're not to be messed with. 30 minutes less per day on social media, according to their research, leads to improved mental health, improved job satisfaction, and better commitment to the work that they do. So just 30 minutes less per day on social media. And I wonder how you balance that, given that your work is so dominated in the online world. Do you ever feel the that you tire of that, or do you have to put things in place in your life to step away from that from time to time, or not? Do you find are you happy immersed in the world of social media, or do you feel that sometimes you need a break from it?
I've put a lot of effort in to, I mean, there are places on the internet where you can go in and you can feel like your soul is being sucked out through your eyes as you look at the content. And I stay away from those places. I might dip in and go, oh, no, it's enough. Whereas,
that's true. Yeah, it depends where you are, doesn't it? On the internet, the internet is not a one size fits all approach.
No.
There's happy places on the internet, and there's unhappy places.
Exactly. So I've curated a really strong network of positive people who have something to say in a positive, and not a guy. We all complain, we all moan, we all grumble about things and vent and rant or whatever. But we can also, there's a lot of actually, how do we tackle this and how do we take on this situation? Yeah, and like one of my happy things was being delivered something wholesome by the algorithm. I love Instagram because it drops in just the most precious content, and I'm like, I've managed this well. They know I want happy things that just are joyful and wholesome and lovely. And people moan about it, but it's a reflection of what you put into it is what it delivers back to you.
So I think our advice would be then to curate your time on social media as opposed to just walking down virtual blind dark alleys. And
when they say that kids need to put their phones away and be banned from them, I think actually what would be more important, more beneficial would be for them to learn how to use social media in a positive way. Absolutely. Because you can find your tribe there. I mean, I've connected with you and the Spices and so many people in the industry. And like I say, I'm not a big, important person at all by any strokes of the imagination, but I've got this amazing network because it's egalitarian when it comes to socials. If you've got something that people want to hear and listen to, you will find your tribe and you will make your connections in a really positive way. And another example of that, my family, my middle child had various kind of identity issues, especially in lockdown. We had some really tough times, but they've found their tribe. They found their tribe at school in the end, which is amazing. But actually, where their confidence came from was from finding people who resonated with them on the internet. They've got masses of friends in Brazil that they would never have met, never have known about, but who have really nurtured them and supported them in developing their sense of self and their sense of identity. And the person you see today is completely different to the one that we had 3 years ago, 4 years ago. So I think using social media and using what's available intelligently can be a real positive thing. And I really get sad when people and upset when people say that it's all negative, because it really isn't the case at all. It's just a reflection.
You said you're not a big important person. I think you're a big important person. We're all a big important person to somebody now.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Within the normal parameters of what big and important looks like.
So we are almost out of time, and I think that you will be coming back on this podcast if I've got anything to do with it, which I should have something to do with it, because I think we could go on all day. But I'd like to wrap things up with a couple of questions that I ask everybody. So, Natalie Barton, take this literally or metaphorically, but where is your happy place?
There are so many. You asked this in your little WhatsApp video group yesterday, and I had so many physical happy places. But I think metaphorically, my happy place is either completely by myself, because actually Greg Sumo said to me, it's really important to be happy just being by yourself and being happy with who you're with. But where I really am probably the happiest is when I'm surrounded by fabulous people and friends. It doesn't matter where it is then.
Absolutely. And on one final note, I like to leave with a message to anyone who listens to this who is struggling to find joy and happiness in their lives, what would you say as a note of encouragement to them?
Start a list.
Yes.
I mean, and look for it in the tiniest of places. It doesn't have to, happiness doesn't have to be a big thing. It can be in tiny moments. It can be in connections that you have. There's happiness wherever you are, even in the darkest of times, and we've all been there. And remember that those dark times don't have to last forever. You're going to get out of it, and there will be brighter, lighter, better things ahead.
Nat, thank you very much for sharing your happy place with me.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.